just when you thought you heard it all, more has come out. This is an update to the Sonya Massey case. We'll return in one moment. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to one and to all. Perhaps it is Monday, depending upon where you are on the globe. Prayerfully, all of you are having a glorious day. And remember to give yourselves a round of applause for making it to and through another day. This week has been a week of ups and downs in the media and individually as we all go through the storms of life. Now, there are many stories that I would like to cover. Unfortunately, due to time constraints and the fact that I have to incorporate a little bit more of me time into the equation. I'm getting to them as quickly as possible. I wanted to thank again everyone who has been engaging, sending messages, sending love gifts. I appreciate you all. Thank you to the members and also congratulations to the gifted members. Now, some of you, and it's okay, you don't type in the chat, but at least I know that at some point in time you're listening, and to be honest, that's the only thing that is important to me. So, without further delay, let us get into the latest as it relates to the Sonya Massey case. And yes, what you're reading in my thumbnail, in my opinion, is accurate. And before someone has an issue, let me go ahead and put up my disclaimers. The first one would be the Fair Use Act disclaimer. And then secondly, and this is probably the most important, viewer discretion is advised. This is a very sensitive topic, no matter what you may feel or what side you may stand on, because to be honest, there are people who are going to feel a certain way about many different things. Again, I am not here to judge. I will most absolutely offer my opinion, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is all that it is. So, a little bit of context. July 6, 2024, shortly after midnight, Sonya Massey, who you see to the left, depending upon how you're viewing your device, summon for help, and two officers, one being who you see to the right, ex-deputy officer or sheriff deputy Sean Grayson was one of the two that responded to her 911 call. Again, this is the next part that I'm still gray and fuzzy about and do not have all of the facts. I watched a portion of the video, however, where it came to the part where she lost her life, I could not watch it. And some of you may go ahead and poo poo me from the get go. Why am I even speaking about it? I'm very squeamish about certain things, but I don't have to actually see something to offer my opinion on a different angle. So, that being said, there are reports that two officers arrived at her home. Apparently, there was a pot of, again, I'm going to say alleged boiling water, and allegedly she threw the water at the officers or or in the direction of the officers, which some may say subsequently resulted in her losing her life. Sean Grayson, who you see here, is the ex-officer who has been charged in Sonya Massey taking her last breath. Last Wednesday, the defense team for Sean Grayson filed three motions. One that has been stricken was a cease and desist order for a group in Peoria that's taken off the table. And also, let me mention, Sean Grayson has been taken back to Sangamon County to receive medical treatment. Now, again, I implore you, as always, 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 to conduct your own independent, thorough, meticulous research because facts may change, some facts may be inaccurate, and statements may have been retracted. To be prudent and responsible, this is the latest information that I have at this point, and you can reference CNN and other reputable, well, for those of you that believe CNN is reputable, news sources. Again, the defense team for Sean Grayson, who you see photoed here, has filed motions that Sean Grayson acted in self-defense and they want these pieces of information to be admitted. In other words, the judge has to rule whether or not these pieces of evidence would be admissible in the trial. Keep in mind, this trial is set for October 2025. Now, what the defense is trying to do, and again, I'm sure, I am not going to say I'm positive, but I'm sure that this information wasn't just sitting on someone's desk up until Wednesday. And what it is that his lawyers are wanting the judge to rule on, or at least be entertained with, is a June 27 text message to allegedly a car dealership employee where allegedly Sonya Massey felt as though she was going to pass away, and apparently someone may have been after her. July 5th, with these dates as an earmark. It is said Sonya Massey's mother had called 911 and explained that her daughter, Sonya, was experiencing a mental health crisis. Sometime July 6th, prior to Sonya Massey losing her life, it is alleged that a neighbor and Sonya Massey was involved in some sort of confrontation where allegedly Sonya Massey was said to have assaulted them, or perhaps that there was a object, perhaps a brick is what I'm hearing. Again, do your research involving a neighbor. So basically, in a nutshell, the defense, the lawyers of Sean Grayson, wants the judge and basically the public, because those of you that have heard the story by now, they want to shine the light on the propensity of violence that could have been part of the fabric of Sonya Massey, and the alleged assault of a neighbor by Sonya Massey. So again, from my optics, it appears that the team for Sean Grayson, they're making moves. Some may say they're well within their rights to introduce this evidence. Again, how long have you known about this? Or is this a move, perhaps in your mind, a strategic move? Because number one, Sean Grayson is now back in Saginaw County undergoing or receiving treatment for a medical condition. Keep that in mind as well. These motions, according to reports, come on the heels of a status hearing. How convenient is that? And no, I'm not being biased, but for me, again, this is for me. Looking at this woman, just through pictures, we already knew, well, many of us who have been following the story, we've already known, and I have a video or a live up where I actually did a reaction where a crisis intervention team actually came and spoke to Sonya Massey. So it is no secret, or it should be no secret, that she was suffering from a mental health issue. On top of that, she also was suffering from lupus. Now, there are a lot of medications depending upon what type of lupus that you have. Those of you that have been following me know that I have lupus. Some of those medications can do a lot to you physically, and if you're not being followed properly, they could they could cause other issues. So there's so many things involved here, but focusing on mental health, and if indeed she was going through a phase of paranoia or schizophrenia, again, preface this and say I am not a doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, or anything under that umbrella, but from reading and just seeing her on film, it was obvious that she was going through something. However, all of the members of the crisis intervention team came out and spoke to her, handled that situation with the utmost professionalism and sympathy. And for those of you who like to use the race card, not one of the members of the crisis intervention team that came out to speak to her not even 48 hours before she lost her life looked like her. So for those of you who always, and I'm not saying it's everyone, for some of you always like to place or play the race card, that wasn't a factor in the video that I observed. Now, this is where I get a little bit frustrated because the justice system isn't always just. What one may think would be a slam dunk, one minor defect, one deficiency change the trajectory of the entire proceeding or trial. Now, keep in mind, many of us have witnessed, or what we believe we have witnessed, because I do believe there have been occasions where certain things have been altered and doctored. To me, there's no debate about that. However, certain people, despite what we've seen and heard, have been acquitted. So I want you to keep that in mind as well. So again, the chess move that Sean Grayson's defense team is trying, again, is trying to maneuver is highlighting the propensity or the probability of a propensity of violence that could have been exhibited by Sonya Massey as it relates to a June 27 text, apparently, allegedly, that she texted to an employee at a car dealership or so, perhaps a car salesman, where she felt as though she was going to pass away and something was going to happen to her. July 5th, Her mother, again, is alleged to have called the authorities and was concerned that her daughter was having a mental breakdown. Now remember, there's a 911 call where Sonya Massey's mother specifically mentioned, please do not hurt my daughter. Again, earmark that. And on July 6th, allegedly, there was an altercation or perhaps assault with Sonya Massey and a neighbor. And then there is a report allegedly of breaking of a car window, perhaps by Sonya Massey. Again, I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist, doctor, or anything under that umbrella, but from my reading, again, someone that's more versed than myself would know this better than I. Those of those individuals that are experiencing psychotic or mental events could, understand what I'm saying, could experience hallucinations or things that may not be reality. It may be their reality because of where they are at that time. Now, here is where this gets a little, again, troublesome for me. And hopefully you all can see this. But this right here, again, I cannot attest to the authenticity of this particular document, but according to a Sergeant Wesley, and I'm going to assume this is badge number 5079, these are some of the things under policy. And I'm going to leave that there for you to peruse. Now, if the defense wants to, and they have every right to do what it is they're paid for Sean Grayson, I'm not arguing that. But if you're going to look at the propensity of violence and these allegations, which again you have every right to do so, should you not look at all allegations? Number one, when it comes to law enforcement and those that may be in the security field, the very first, or one of the very first things they teach you is to de-escalate. Now, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, recognizing that a person may be experiencing a mental health crisis allows officers to adjust. And yes, I said that louder because that's key. Allows officers to adjust their communication and actions, potentially preventing escalation and reducing the need for force. I cannot stress how important it is, not only in this case, but prior cases and cases moving forward. I will repeat this again for my trucker gals and for my trucker guys, and for those who may be piddling, that's what my auntie used to say, around my house and may just be listening in. De escalation, recognizing that a person may be experiencing a mental health crisis allows officers to adjust their communication and actions, potentially preventing escalation and reducing the need for force. It is alleged that Sean Grayson has had some issues in the past, including this brief stint in the U.S. Army. This, again, courtesy of CNN. I'll take you there and let you just peruse through that. Now, was it was it necessary that Sonya Massey lose her life as a result of something that was aimed to her face? Not center mass, but to her face. And keep in mind, according to audio of this fateful day, John Grayson absolutely said that is what he was going to do. As, again, from reports, it appeared that he and his partner were moving toward, as opposed to moving away from this boiling water that, again, reports say, again, I cannot attest to the accuracy of it, that it may have been at least 10 feet, 10 feet distance. But if you're moving towards the person who called you, are you moving out of the way? And if you're yelling, keeping in mind it was already established June 5th by a 911 call from her mother. And prior to that, as I mentioned, that she was going through a mental health issue. So I am not convinced that dispatch or someone in the system had no knowledge that Sonya Massey, number one, had a mental issue. In the video that I have up, where the crisis intervention team came, Sonya Massey indeed said she had taken her medicine. So someone knew she had mental health issues. Again, her mother, when calling 911, asked did they not hurt her daughter? So again, from my optics, this was known. Because it was known, but Sean Grayson and his partner, thoroughly trained in de-escalation and how moving towards a potentially, as a potentially, what many may say was a threat, and the escalation of voices, did that help de-escalate, or did it possibly escalate the situation? Again, do your research. Bureau of Justice Assistance. While officers are not expected to diagnose mental illness, of course they're not expected, and no one should unless they have the proper credentials. That's a given, or it should be. Recognizing potential indicators of a crisis, such as unusual behavior, unusual speech patterns, or agitations, can be, that's the operative word, can be crucial. Some communities are also exploring systems for flagging individuals with known mental health conditions to inform responding officers. So that piece right there is critical because, as I mentioned, the phone call made by Sonya Massey's mother, where she specifically said, "Please do not hurt my daughter. She's having a mental crisis," where it is on film where the crisis intervention team visited her not even 48 hours prior to her losing her life, knew as well she was going through a mental health crisis. Was those facts disclosed to Sean Grayson and his partner? Again, this is the strategy here. But, but, if the judge entertains that, will the judge entertain alleged complaints against Sean Grayson that allegedly are on file in Illinois by a former inmate at the Logan County Jail who wrote an official complaint in December of 2022 stated Grayson ordered her to expose herself to him. Quote, "I felt very violated," said Chelsea Lowe, an inmate confronted by Grayson in a drug search. Grayson denied that accusation and resigned from the Logan County Sheriff's Office before the complaint was formally investigated. So these emotions right here, again, as I mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, His defense team are being paid to do a job. So if they feel as though filing motions to explore, if you will, the propensity or alleged propensity of violence of Sonya Massey and her state of mind, which I think those who are aware of this story, we pretty much, unless we've been living under a rock, are aware or were aware of her mental psyche. Will the same, will the same be afforded to Sonya Massey's family? Will complaints about Grayson and allegations about Grayson be explored? If not already, will they be deemed admissible if they haven't already? Will Chelsea Lowe be a witness? Let's look at something else. The deputy also faced accusations from who? From who? His former wife in divorce proceedings that he treated her with repeated acts of mental cruelty. Now, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, again, if this is accurate, and again, I cannot attest to the authenticity of this, but I can say there is something indeed on file. I just didn't present it. That's for you to do if you're invested into it. Repeated acts of mental cruelty. Yes, I'm going somewhere with that, so earmark this. A separate citizen complaint against Grayson in May alleged that he unlawfully tried to enter a house without having obtained a warrant. We just heard about a case similar to that, but it was a no-knock warrant, and we saw what happened with that. But I digress. Yelling at her, threatening to put her in cuffs if she didn't let him inside. The complaint was found not sustained by one of Grayson's fellow officers. So again, will the ex-wife be called? Is there a deposition on file for the former wife? And then the 17-year-old? Or is all this fluff? If you're going to request promotions into the propensity of violence and the mental state of Sonya Massey, then to even the playing field, would you not do the same? Would you not afford the prosecutors, the family of Sonya Massey, to also look into these allegations made against Sean Grayson? Or is Lady Justice only for certain people? The sheriff's deputy charged with fatally, as we know what happened, Sonya Massey, and you can see where he did this. has been subject to several complaints alleging belligerent behavior towards women. A USA Today review of public record shows. Again, I implore you to conduct your own independent, thorough, meticulous research. This is according to a review of records obtained by USA Today. Despite the complaints, Saginaw County Sheriff Deputy Sean P. Grayson was never prohibited from working in law enforcement, and this has been substantiated. He's moved from one police agency to another, the records show, calling into question how he got the job he held when Massey lost her life. Finally, the family and the attorney, they're asking for cameras to be allowed into the courtroom. And I personally absolutely agree that they should be. They absolutely should be. Because in my opinion, the outcome of this case is going to most definitely preempt a paradigm shift. Keep in mind, these allegations. Now, again, I am not a psychiatrist, or any of those things that fall under that umbrella. But I have worked beside many agents, those of which who are in combat. I'm telling you, they have seen and done some things that bother them, that they can't shake, that's caused them problems in their relationships. There were statements allegedly by Sean Grayson alleging that he's made disparaging remarks against the late Sonya Massey. Didn't try to render aid. According to Sergeant Wesley Wooten, number 5079, there are some policies there. And it appears, again, I cannot attest to the accuracy of this, but the partner, Sean Grayson, who did want to at least try to render aid, again, cannot attest to the accuracy, but according to the partner's words, and I don't know if he's going to be called or not, he definitely should be, because Sean Grayson, according to reports, BWC, or body worn camera, wasn't even activated until afterwards. His partner's was. There's a little bit of gasping here. Now, whether or not aid was rendered To be fair, the probability of her being saved was slim. So I'm not going to say this would have saved her life because I cannot say that, but the probability, probably not. And if by chance it was, we don't know what state or quality of life she would have because of the nature of the injuries she sustained and succumbed to as a result of the actions of Sean Grayson. According to reports and statements, and he was dismissive. And according to, again, allegedly, some reports, some questions may have been refused to be answered by Sean Grayson after an IA or internal affairs interview. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, it appears for many that Sonya Massey was indeed, I'll just say, murdered. And there are others that say, and have said to me in comments, some of the most foul remarks, but we live in America where there's free speech, freedom of speech. No matter how hurtful and evil it may be, people are going to be people and they say what they want to say. But think about if it were your family member experiencing a mental health crisis and say that an alleged rogue officer with a checkered past happened to be the one to respond and perhaps allegedly may have had anger issues. Decided to take the life of your loved one because of what they perceived as a threat. Because I don't know too many people, and again, there are billions of people in the world, and no, I don't know all of them. But just off the top of my apple head, it is very hard for me to believe that you can take somebody's life and feel no remorse afterward, 2 weeks afterward, months afterward, a year afterward. We shall see if the judge allows this to be admissible in the trial of Sean Grayson. Keep in mind, there are allegations against Sean Grayson and will or has prosecution and advocates and family. Sonya Massey pushed for those allegations to be dissected, for the people who made those allegations to be deposed or perhaps called as witnesses. Fair is fair, or is it? Thank you for tuning in. Please, everyone, be safe, be well, and be healthier. If you like this video and any other videos, please let me know by giving it a big thumbs up. For those of you that might be new to the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button. And again, thank you to the members and supporters and those who peek through every now and again through the bushes. Be safe, be well, and be healthier. Until next time, bye bye for now.